Though the house and grounds of our home in India were grandfather's domain, the magnificent old banyan tree was mine, chiefly because grandfather at the age of 65 could no longer climb it. Though the house and grounds means the land, of our home in India were grandfather's domain. Domain is an area of territory owned or controlled by a particular person. So, the house and grounds of our home in India were grandfather's property. The narrator says our home in India. Actually, the narrator, Ruskin Bond, is British. His father was working in India during the British time. And when India got independence and the Britishers moved back to England, the family of Ruskin Bond stayed back in India. The magnificent old banyan tree was mine. Magnificent, beautiful. Banyan tree. This is the banyan tree. Was mine, was the narrator's. So here the narrator is telling that the house and land belonged to grandfather, but the banyan tree was the narrator's. Chiefly means mainly, because grandfather at the age of 65 could no longer climb it. Because grandfather was 65 years old and he could not climb on the banyan tree. Grandmother used to tease him, make fun of. So grandmother used to make fun of him about this and would speak of a certain Countess of Desmond. So she would say about a countess. Countess is the wife of a count, and count is a position given to a person in England. So she was the wife of a count of Desmond. Desmond is a place in England. An English woman who lived to the age of 117, and this countess, this lady, lived to the age of 117. She had a very long life and would have lived longer if she hadn't fallen while climbing an apple tree. And she would have lived longer and if she had not fallen while climbing an apple tree. So she died when she fell down climbing an apple tree. So she was telling the grandfather not to climb on the banyan tree. The spreading branches of the banyan tree, which curved to the ground and took root again, forming a maze of arches, gave me endless pleasure. So the branches of the banyan tree were spreading out. This is how the branches of a banyan tree spreads out, which curved to the ground again. So these branches came to the ground, took root again and went up in the sky, forming a maze of arches. This is what is a maze. You are familiar with it. Getting in is quite easy, but getting out is little difficult. So forming a maze of arches gave me endless pleasure, happiness. So the narrator was very happy playing among the branches of the banyan tree. The tree was older than the house. The tree was older than the house, older than grandfather. So it was a very old tree, as old as the town of Dehra. So this tree was old as the town of Dehra. Dehra is Dehradun, which is the present capital of Uttaranchal. nestling in a valley, nestling, situated in a half-hidden or sheltered position. So this place was half-hidden or sheltered in a, in a sheltered position in a valley. Valley is a place between the mountains at the foot of the Himalayas. So Dehradun is in the Himalayas. The tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as the town of Dehradun, and it was lying hidden in a valley at the foot of the Himalayas. My first friend and familiar was a small grey squirrel. So the narrator's first friend was a squirrel. This is a squirrel. So my first friend on the banyan tree was a squirrel. Arching his back. Arching means having the curve shape. Arching his back and sniffing. Action of drawing the air audibly through the nose into the air. He seemed at first to resent, angry. He seemed at first to be angry at my invasion, at my attack of his privacy. The squirrel did not like the narrator on the banyan tree, and in the beginning he was very angry with the narrator because he was attacking his privacy. But when he found that I did not arm myself with a catapult, the squirrel found that the boy, that is the narrator, I did not arm myself with a catapult. This is a catapult. You know what is it used for? It is used for hunting animals and birds, or air gun. Catapult and air gun, both are used for hunting animals and birds. So when the squirrel found that I did not have catapult or air gun, he became friendlier. He became one of my friends. And when I started leaving him pieces of cake and biscuits, and when I went to the banyan tree, I would take cake and biscuit with me to give to the squirrel. He grew bolder, he grew brave, he grew courageous, and finally became familiar enough to take food from my hands. And he became familiar to take food from my hands. He started taking food from my hands. So his friendship was now becoming stronger and stronger. Before long, he was delving into my pockets, delving, searching. So when I went to the banyan tree, he would search into my pockets and helping himself to whatever he could find. And he will take whatever he could find from my pocket. He was a very young squirrel. So this squirrel was a young squirrel, and his friends and relatives, that is the other squirrels, probably thought him headstrong, very determined to do what one wants without listening to others, which means doing things just as one likes, and foolish for trusting a human. So the other squirrels considered him headstrong and foolish for trusting a human, because as far as animals are concerned, trusting human beings is a foolish thing. In the spring, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs, this is the red figs of the banyan tree, which is its fruit. So in the spring season, when the banyan tree is covered with red figs, birds of all kinds would flock into its branches. Flock. A number of birds of one kind feeding, resting, or traveling together. So birds of all kinds would come and sit on the branches of the banyan tree. The red-bottomed bulbul. This is the red-bottomed bulbul. Cheerful and greedy, cheerful, happy. So the red-bottomed bulbul is happy and greedy also. Greedy to eat the red figs. Gossiping rosy pastures. This is the rosy pasture. Gossiping rosy pasture. And parrots and crows. And also parrots and crows. All these birds would come on the branches of the banyan tree, squabbling. Squabbling means quarreling noisily over a silly matter. Squabbling with each other all the time. So they will be quarreling with each other. That is the birds, the bulbul, the rosy pasture, the parrots, the crows. They will be quarreling with each other all the time. Here you find a word called gossiping. Gossiping means the unnecessary talks which is usually associated with women. During the fig season, the banyan tree was the noisiest place on the road. During the fig season, the banyan tree was the noisiest place on the road. It's just like your classroom when there is no teacher. When there is no teacher in your class, your classroom is the noisiest classroom in the school.